Okay, how's that? Can y'all hear me? Okay, this is only my second time reading, so, okay. Eat the Rich by Brittany Kraft. I was a compliant kid. I got good grades. I stayed out of trouble, and I was generally a teacher's pet. So it was no surprise when my third grade teacher asked me to go on an important errand for her. Of all the students in class, she trusted me to be the one who would travel on an important journey. No, a quest. Through the teacher's lounge and into the depths of the teacher's supply closet. I don't exactly remember what the errand was, but I do remember walking into that dark, musty, messy room with stacks of construction paper and stray staples strewn about tall shelves. At the time, my best friend Kimmy and I were obsessed with playing school. Most of our school supplies were random items collected from junk drawers and basement bins around our respective houses. A broken stapler, a dried-out Sharpie, a half-used roll of fax paper, all endowing us with the magical power of authority over our imaginary students. I thought about snagging some bright pink construction paper or a fresh pack of Crayola markers, but I knew better than that. My teacher trusted me. I recall searching around the room only to stumble upon a bowl filled with Andy's mints. Prior to that day, I had only seen or tasted those high-class chocolates with a green mint filling in fancy restaurants, which up to that point in my life had likely only been 2 or 3 times. I was elated to find such a treasure trove of unattended goodies. And not cheap Nestle chocolates they gave us at Halloween, but adult-grade chocolates. Now, clearly, I would never steal actual objects, but candy held another status in the kid economy. Candy was handed out at holidays and for good behavior. Taking candy was different from taking objects. So, obviously, I did what any overachieving third grader would do. I looked around to see if anyone was watching and grabbed a couple fistfuls and quickly stuffed them into the pockets of my denim overalls. This is my reward for being a good kid, I thought to myself. I will honor this gift by sharing my bounty with my friends around me. And that I did. When I returned to class, I stealthily passed some candy to my friends under the desk. Word spread fast, and soon I was sharing with the whole class. Sure, I may have been a thief, but I wasn't selfish. I recalled the story of Robin Hood, and in my heart I justified my crime thinking, yeah, I'm just like him. Here I am, stealing from the rich and giving to the poor. I'm a modern-day Robin Hood. I am benevolent. I am good. I will single-handedly destroy capitalism. And my classmates sure did treat me like a hero that day. I basked in the glory of providing riches to the famished, lowly peasant students. Okay, I'll admit, none of us were famished or lowly or peasants. This was the mid-90s in a middle-class suburb, and our parents could definitely afford some little minty chocolates. But these felt so fancy, so classy, so out of reach. After a while, the teacher began to notice various Andy's mint wrappers discarded around the room. I can only assume that she must have done some real Nancy Drew-level detective shit to figure out that I was, in fact, responsible. How she solved the mystery, I'll never know. I was stunned. For the first time in my life, I was caught, and I was in trouble at school. No one celebrated my good deed, and instead I was being punished. I imagined my downfall, how I would go from being a straight-A student to failing tests, dropping out of elementary school, selling candy on the streets, and eventually landing in some kind of kid prison. That had to be the only logical sequence of events from here. I was doomed. The teacher called home to inform my mom of my crime, and when I arrived back home later that afternoon on the school bus, I carefully and logically explained my rationale. The temptation, the unattended candy, my extreme generosity. My mom, who knew I was mostly a good kid with an occasional streak for questioning authority, seemed satisfied with the Robin Hood-inspired story and served me my punishment, issued by my evil, unjust tyrant of a teacher. I wondered to myself, had this been some sort of test? Had she planned this whole charade herself only to trap me like a modern-day sheriff of Nottingham? I clasped my palms tightly and squeezed my eyes shut as my sentencing was issued. I would be required to pay for a bag of replacement mints and take them to the school to give to my teacher, replacing the stolen goods. "A whole bag?" I screamed. "This was worse than prison." I only took a couple of tiny child-sized handsful. She was coming out on top on this whole debacle. What a scam! Clearly, she was the villain of the story, and I was a heroic outlaw. We drove to the grocery store together and walked to the candy aisle. Floor-to-ceiling chocolates, gummies, licorice, Skittles, chewing gum, and pure sugar surrounded me on all sides. My mom had to stand up on her tiptoes and reach all the way up to the top shelf for the prized Andes mints. I remember gazing up and thinking, wow, they must be really important to be all the way up there. I mean, come on, this was literally top shelf candy. This wasn't some eye-level Snickers or M&M's impulse buy type bullshit candy. This was high-class chocolate made for royalty and nobles. I saw the price tag and began to panic. Not only was I a compliant little nerd of a kid, I was a penny pincher too. My parents didn't give me an allowance. The only money I had was birthday money or lemonade stand money, and usually I saved it all in my ceramic piggy bank. What was I saving it all for? I'm not entirely sure, but certainly not candy for an adult woman with a salary and benefits who most certainly could buy her own treats. My mom, sensing my panic, told me, "I'll buy them. Don't worry about it. This is stupid." Relief washed over me. I wouldn't go broke and end up destitute. At least not today. As my body relaxed and I sighed with relief, she threw in an extra box of the fancy mints. Shocked, I looked up at her, my eyes wide with confusion. "You can bring some to school to share with your friends too," she added, with a quick wink and a smile. Was she kidding? I was going to be the absolute coolest kid in the school. I would solidify my Robin Hood status. Today, as an adult, I realize how much my mom probably questioned the establishment of school, having worked in schools herself. I now see that her gesture was more of a screw you to the teacher who dared to punish her perfect child. It was her way of showing me that rules are sometimes silly and that it's okay to occasionally question authority. And most of all, it was the first time I got a glimpse of a mom who wasn't just my mom. She was actually kind of cool. Thank goodness.
Yeah, keep going. Yeah. Anybody tell y'all to stop clapping? All right. Now, life's all about fractions, you know, like they say, possessions 9/10 of a law, you know. In wrestling culture, problems are hashed out 9/10 of the time by fight, you know. And we pretty good at it. But every 10th time after you punch somebody in the head 15, 16 times, I don't know, you get to a point where you go, I really wish somebody would help me out and tell me how this is supposed to end. That's why I come here. I'm a judge. And I don't look the part all the time, and my shit may not be correct today, you know, but most of y'all don't look 100% done right now. We're gonna go ahead and keep this show going. All right, okay. You know, one thing I thought about, you know, is the stories like this, you know, adults writing stories, getting adults to read stories, you know, y'all should have called it adult story. You know what, when you say it like that, I get it. That's a smart choice. All right, the second story here is I Hate Stevie Nicks, written by the superstar Christopher Odyssey and read by even Steven Garcia. Give it up.